Coffee Outtake!
Guys in the Gulf.
Yeah.
When I drove some name off, he's going to edit it.
Yeah, well,
Perfect.
well, I was wondering this morning, like, what I would actually have to talk about. And I was like, I think I might come at it as, like, from a backpacker point of view, somebody who's visited King Ash Bay, somebody who's moved halfway across the world, my experience just in that sense, and, like, kind of, not advice, but just heads up, I suppose, from my kind of experience for other people that might want to move to Australia or, you know, things like that. And
Yeah, well, that's in the last couple of ones that we've had a guest on. We've asked, the first question is, tell us your King Ash Bay story. And usually someone's King Ash Bay story is, they've been travelling around Australia and they've stumbled across it and they end up spending a couple of weeks here. And then the next year they come back and they spend 3 months. That's the typical King Ash Bay story.
Yeah. Some people.
But your King Ash Bay story is very different. Yeah.
100%.
So we have already started, by the way. So
Oh, okay. Okay. I suppose I better introduce myself.
no, it's pretty casual, mate.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. So anyone that's visited King Ash Bay this year would know Jack, one of the many Irish backpackers we've had. He's easy top two.
Easy top two?
Easy top two.
He's top four. He's top four.
Is that all?
Yeah. We've had it between last year and this year. We've had quite a few Irish come through. They've all been pretty good fun, and we've got to know Jack pretty well. And so how did you stumble across King Ash Bay, mate?
Yeah, so I moved to Australia only in January of this year, so 10 months ago. Still pretty fresh, still pretty new here. I'm not really a typical backpacker in the sense that my girlfriend and I moved over and we settled in Sydney straight away. To me, a backpacker really is somebody that's like constantly on the road and picking up work as they go along and like covering a lot of ground. And I suppose that's been good in certain ways, but then I'm kind of jealous of people that do that as well because they get to see so much. I mean, it's very easy to get stuck in Sydney because you work Monday to Friday and a short weekend is not enough time to really leave the state and come back for Monday morning. I obviously wanted to do and see as much as possible while I've been here, but I suppose it's been beneficial as well in the sense that, you know, working towards things like sponsorship and things like that is probably a little bit more like probable to happen rather than just constantly being on the road and writing out your visa that way. But yeah, going back to the King Ash Bay, I spent after 6 months in Sydney. Anyone on our visa gets 1 year in Australia. It's the work and holiday visa, and if you do 88 days of regional work, what the government consider regional work, you get an extra year extended onto your visa, so 2 years instead of 1.
Yeah, so that I assume that's why you see so many backpackers around, like the roadhouses and stuff like that, all through the Northern Territory and probably all of Australia. Yeah. So they're getting, if they work for 3 months or just under 3 months remote, you get an extra year on your visa. Yeah,
and it's a good way that the government do it. It's kind of like, if you help our country out, we'll help you out. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So you have to do those 88 days or those 3 months within your first year of your visa in Australia. You don't do the full year and then decide to do your regional work. You've got to do it within the year. So we just posted on like a backpacker Facebook page and just saying, hey, my partner and I are looking to complete our 88 days, and King Ash Bay came across it, contacted us, and we jumped at the opportunity. It's kind of funny because we couldn't find a lot about King Ash Bay. It's obviously a very remote place online. Other than your videos is what gave us...
Flooded the market, mate. You talk King Ash Bay, Borroloola, MacArthur River.
Yeah,
you'll find me, mate. Yeah.
There's a Facebook page, but there's no real... I think there is a website, but it seems kind of old. I didn't get a whole lot of information from it, but... So virtually we flew halfway across Australia for a stranger on Facebook who has offered us a job, and it didn't end up being a scam or it all ended up being true. It's like no place I've ever seen. We arrived, so this is actually my last day in King Ash Bay. 14 weeks ago is when we arrived, and
Ash and I picked you up from the airport.
Yeah. Oh, I'll never forget that day.
From the MacArthur River mine, and you get all these people coming to work, getting off, and we picked you and Jason straight away, mate. As soon as he's got off the plane.
Oh God, thinking back on it now, I was wearing white shorts. If that doesn't give it away, I don't know what will. And I would never do that anyway. I don't know what was going on. Definitely a present or something. They're in the bin at this stage, but
Straight away as soon as you got off the plane, though, I was like, "Yep,
here
that's
they
us,
are.
Mike."
Yeah.
That's our.
I've lived in cities all my life. So I'm originally from Dublin, but I moved to Limerick in the southwest of Ireland, which is another major city in Ireland. And I lived there for 7 years. It's where my dad is from. And basically, when I finished school in Dublin at 20 years of age, I moved there, did a 4-year degree in the University of Limerick. And then that's where I met my partner, Hazel. And I got a job after college. And I ended up staying 7 years instead of just the 4 for college, which was great. And then, Hazel and I also had lived in Barcelona for 1 month the year before we came to Australia. And any holiday we've ever done is always to a European city, not on purpose, but I mean the main ones like Budapest, Dubrovnik, Madrid, Paris, whatever. It's always close to a town or a city at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were very used to that sort of lifestyle. We have spent a lot of time in the Irish countryside, which is also very remote and very rural. But you're never more than a 2-hour car ride or journey to a city or a town, whereas here is 8.5 to Catherine and 10.5 to Darwin alone.
Yeah.
So that day that you guys picked me up, I'll never forget. It was not only did we fly from Darwin to the MacArthur mine, but then it was another 100 Ks to here.
Yeah, in the dark.
In the dark, looking out at natural bushfires that I thought farmers had set, burning rubbish like they do in Ireland.
Yeah, so in the dry season here in the Territory, there's everything gets burnt pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all grass fires everywhere, little small smouldering bits the whole drive home. We get close to home and Jack's like, "Oh, so is this all people burning rubbish and stuff?"
Oh
yeah,
my
mate.
God.
Yeah, mate. Wait till you see it during the day. There's no one out here. There's no one.
I have changed a lot since then. I've come on so much. Definitely have a new perspective now of everything. But Ash stopped the car halfway through because there was a snake on the road, and
That's right. We brought a snake back in.
I wouldn't hold it. He was like, "Here, hold this," and I was like, "No, thank you."
I think you touched it.
Yeah, just about. Probably my baby finger, maybe a photo from a fair distance. But nowadays, I'm I'm picking up frogs that are supposed to be in my room, and just completely changed. Definitely one of the most remote places I've ever been, and one of the most amazing places that I've ever been. I was in awe when I first arrived. That one of my favorite movies of all time is The Beach, which is Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's based around a secret society in Thailand where these people have found a beach on an island. You've probably all seen it before, but King Ash Bay pumps its own water, generates its own electricity. It's run by a committee. I haven't seen any police. It's run by just the community and the people. Nobody really steps out of line, but if they do, the people will govern it,
Yeah, the dungeons underneath the bar.
I was wondering what that noise was.
You'll see it later tonight, Jack.
But yeah, I mean, just I don't think anything from what I've been told is owned even by the government, in the sense that I think the boat ramp and the road, from what I've been told, the road in and out, but even that's under lease. And yeah, just to be in one of these, for lack of a better word, but for one of these secret societies, or the closest I've ever seen to one. Very liberal. I was only born in 96. I actually have one here in 90. I'm good, thank you.
I'll swap you. Oh, you got to open it.
No, I have a freshie here. It's coldies before goldies today, by the way.
Yeah, it's more a set of guidelines really than rules. Yeah.
But what was I saying?
Fairly liberal. You were born in 90.
So I was only born in 96, but someone had said to me at the bar that it's kind of like going back to the 70s.
Mm.
I love everything vintage and retro and kind of old, kind of older style. Those times, I don't know why they appeal to me so much, but any TV from those days or anything, the clothes, the music, and the culture, back to basics, lack of technology and things like that. Kind of, even though I was only born in 96, I just remember the whole before technology thing as well. We had Game Boys, but we built bike ramps, and there was ice cream vans and setting up tents in your back, that type of stuff. Retro compared to kids these days. But someone told me it was like going back to the 70s. And even though I can't vouch for that because I wasn't born, it's definitely the most liberal place, in the sense that you know, it's you're kind of free. It's one of probably the last final frontiers in the world at the moment where you're kind of free to do whatever you want and to express yourself in any way and live your life truly how you kind of naturally want to. I've been lighting fires. I've been riding four-wheelers. I've been, you know, going fishing. And I probably shouldn't mention some other.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
All things looked at have been okay.
They're all legal. But no, like I've been exploring the bush and getting right out there into the sticks where, you know, you hear about it in Ireland. I always wanted to travel the Outback and see it. You hear about, you know, being able to drive miles and miles and miles. You might not come across a servo or you know, if you run out of water or petrol, you know, this is the other side of the world, but there's tall tales of, you know, the bush being like, you know, really rural. I always wanted to see it. And going back to being stuck in Sydney, like King Ash Bay was a great opportunity for me to like get out of that rat race and that circle and like come up here. But also now that we're finished, we're going to take our time getting back down there. And we've still got our apartment our names on a lease of an apartment until January coming. So we know we got to go back down there. But like even now, not only just coming to the territory, but we're going to go to Bali for 10 days. And we're also going to do the east coast of Australia all the way down, going back to Sydney. So like that's more travel experience in my pocket. And yeah, it's
What's your plan for that? Are you going to buy a car or just bus it or what?
A mix of everything. I think we might rent a car or a van or whatever at some stage. But really we're getting a lift to Darwin from a very kind local. You all know Sally that works in the kitchen here in King Ash Bay, but she's actually driving to Darwin tomorrow to drop her daughter, I think, to the airport for university or for school or something. So she's just visiting at the moment. We're going to jump in the back and she kindly is taking us to Darwin. We're going to fly to Bali, fly back from Bali to only Cairns, not just to Cairns, and then we're going to do a bus, which is another 10 hours to Airlie Beach, and we're going to take a trip to the Whitsundays, and I think then it's actually a flight to Brisbane. I've heard good things about Brisbane, and I think we're just doing a bus to the Gold Coast. We've friends in the Gold Coast, and we're going to stay with them, and then I think it's a flight to Sydney as well. But we'll do some driving while when we get to each place.
Even just southeast Queensland, you could spend months there.
Yeah,
there's
for
that
sure.
many little spots and hideaway places that you just absolutely love. Like from the Gold Coast, you can go up Tambourine Mountain and there's wineries and bloody cheese factory, distillery, all that stuff. There's a few days just there, you know. And then if you want to party on the Gold Coast as well, you've obviously got Cavill Avenue there and the theme parks. Yeah, just the Gold Coast alone.
So much going on.
And then out from that, it's huge. Yeah, and you don't have to go far inland as well to be in the country again.
Yeah,
you can do a farm stay or something like that. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it.
And that's just a little blip on the map of all of Australia.
Yeah, your country, like this country is so. Not only is it a continent, right? But it's obviously a country. But like I only really knew the well-known kind of big names before I moved here. So you've got your Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Darwin. And sorry for anybody that's listening, that I have from somewhere that I haven't mentioned, obviously. But what the point I'm trying to make is like there is just so much even outside of those quote unquote big names that people only kind of know of on the other side of the world. You know, it's only when you get here you really realize, as you said, Mikey, how much you can do even just like in a small speck of the place. You know, you can spend months or weeks and not even have covered all of it.
Well, that's it. I think like a massive portion of the population's like in the high 90% of the population lives within like 5 kilometers or something of the coast. Like it's such a big country, but then everyone is condensed into these places coastline. Well, you know, like you say, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, you know, a few down in Tassie. But once you get away from there, like then you've got like the Northern Territory, for example, like how big the Northern Territory is. We've got like less than 250,000 people, something on the books here at the moment. And that's for the whole territory.
The population of the Gold Coast might be 1 million, just the Gold Coast. and we got 250,000 just in the
it's,
whole Northern Territory.
Yeah, it's nearly like one suburb
Yeah.
in Sydney, but at the same time, it is a good number because I like as a backpacker, as an Irish backpacker, I was under the impression that inland Australia was nearly inhabitable. Just you know, as you said, Ash, like it's all condensed to the coastline. But at the same time, I've heard some amazing stories of people I've met in King Ash Bay who have come here from like the centre of South Australia or just under the border of Northern Territories, and like they have caves, underground caves that is their houses.
It could be,
places like that or whatever. I don't know exactly where, but I mean, yeah, there obviously is a lot more going on than you'd realise in the centre of Australia. Like, well, more than I expected or realised, you know, that kind of way.
Pretty sure they filmed Mad Max in Cooper Pedy, didn't they?
Yeah, rightio.
I
Yeah,
think so.
well, it's that sort of terrain, isn't it? Yeah. I was sort of, my mind was going as you were talking before about the different parts of Australia. I suppose being so big as well, there's you could say compare, I'm going to say Gold Coast again, to say somewhere in Florida or Tasmania might compare to Ireland.
Yeah.
And then you've got places like the Daintree rainforest in northern Queensland. There, like, could remind you of, I know, the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah,
you know, like we've got from snow-capped mountains to desert to tropical to rainforest. It's just crazy diverse.
That's the funny thing you say that, because it's like I went to Switzerland for we had like one year we had a heap of the family went to Switzerland. We had Christmas in the snow, and we got to the little place we were staying at, and I was talking to some people there, some locals there, and I was saying, you know, this is the first time I've ever seen snow in my life. I've never seen snow ever, you know. And they're like, "What? You've never seen snow?" I said, "No, first time." I said, "But the funny thing is, the Australian Alps has more snowfall per year than the Swiss Alps."
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I heard that.
but I've never seen snow before. I've never like it's
No,
I don't like the cold that much either. So.
Like you've got it's the equator that runs straight through the middle, right? So
No.
the middle of the world.
The middle of the world. No, not through Australia. No, Tropical Capricorn.
Around Rockhampton, I reckon.
Which is like it's like 33 degrees or something like that.
Well, it blew my
33 and a half
mind. I
degrees.
mean, like, obviously, as I said, I moved here in June and Sydney was starting to get cold because it was starting to come in winter, and then you can come straight up here and back up to mid 30s, you know, degrees temperature wise. And, you know, as you said, Ash, you can go back down south again and there's snow, and like, as you said as well, Mikey, I mean, so diverse in the sense that you've got everything from rainforest to desert to like so much nature, so much going on. I mean, I didn't think that I would live in a town where there's crocodiles swimming up and down the river, and then you go west and there's sharks in the water, like great whites, and you know, there's just
We've got sharks here too, mate. Not
yeah,
just crocodiles.
yeah.
And the jellyfish and the snakes.
There's a lot going on. 100% snakes, lizards, big bugs, a hot sun. I think everything wants to kill you, but it's all good.
I think even the mud can kill you here, can't it?
Oh yeah, well, you know, it's, especially when it's like wet season time.
Melioidosis.
Melioidosis, also known as nightcliff gardener's disease. Yeah. So even just if you've got any sort of open wounds in the wet season, you can get basically it's an infection, but it can be fatal, you know, and people die from it every year in the Northern Territory. They die from melioidosis. So.
Jesus.
So, the government puts out adverts about it. Like,
oh my god! Well, tomorrow's my last. I'm on a flight tomorrow, so as long as I can survive.
Why don't we open this bad boy, mate?
We've got another sponsor from Big Pete.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Alcohol poisoning is probably
yeah. I might have to book a new flight if you're popping that.
Well, how would you say that?
Looks beautiful.
Zakapa?
Zakapa, I suppose. Yeah.
What is it?
Don't quote me on that.
It's rum.
It's rum? Okay.
Wow.
Well, it's a fancy bottle, so it looks expensive. Well, it came in a box, so...
well, that's a start, yeah. Anything that comes in a box is fancy for me.
Yeah, cool.
You know, I'm usually an Irish whiskey drinker, but and beer, of course, but rum in the territory seems to be the go-to for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially Bundaberg.
Bundaberg fighting juice, yeah. I can't do it. Yeah. No, when it comes to rum, I'm Captain Morgan.
Yeah, well, me too now, but like growing up, my old man drinks rum.
You keep talking. I'm just going to fix that chain that keeps. Yeah.
Annoying.
It is so.
Yeah, so like
That's the basement of the bar.
That's the He's not picking up the chain. Yeah, he's gonna flog someone. So yeah, but like growing up, like as a well, not growing up as a kid, but like when I first like started drinking, I drank Bundy because that's what my old man drank, and bloody everyone I knew drank Bundy, and I went to boarding school in Queensland, and everything's Bundy. Like if you ask for rum, it's Bundy.
Yeah.
And then I've drank Bundy right up through until I went to Europe, and then because Bundaberg rum do not export rum to any other country,
No,
so you can only get it in Australia. So unless you get
now even
you can't buy it off the shelf anywhere. Like it's not exported to any other country. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
No, I think you're right.
but I'm pretty sure they don't export to any other country. And in actual fact, I think it was like World War II, I reckon. You couldn't even buy rum in Australia because they stopped selling rum locally in Australia so they could send it all to the troops that were fighting.
That's the Anzac
Fighting
spirit.
Jews.
Yeah. They're like, sorry guys, no more rum available. We've got to pack it up and send it to the boys over there.
Fair.
Yeah. So, so I've always drank Bundy up until I went to Europe.
Yeah.
And then alcohol was a fair bit cheaper.
Yeah, because you were a Bundy drinker when I first met you.
100%, 100%.
I never met you as a Bundy.
And
he was a lot more aggressive back then.
plausible.
Maybe.
But yeah, I've mellowed out a bit now. But I still like rum. I still like Bundy, but I definitely went off Bundy after going to Europe because like we were in France, Switzerland, Scotland, Italy, and the cheapest rum you could get like was pretty much like Captain Morgan's. And they're available everywhere. Yeah. And then also like obviously living up here, we're the gateway to Asia up here. So you go from Darwin, you can go to anywhere in Asia very, very quickly.
Yeah.
You can fly to Indonesia quicker than you can go to any other capital city in Australia.
Yeah.
It's about the same to fly to Singapore from Darwin as it is to fly to Brisbane, our closest capital city.
Yeah, it's so big.
I think some people at work, like in the NT, like mining, fly in, fly out jobs, they live in Bali. Their wife and kids are in Bali, and they come back over here and work here for 2 weeks.
Well, and because it's so cheap as well.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like you go to Thailand, so like like we're in Bangkok and we're drinking like Sang Som, which is very similar. Like I think that's their national drink actually. It's a rum and it's very similar to the Captain Morgan as well. It's like a Jamaican sort of like
they're big for rum
thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's proper nice stuff.
Oh, good, thank you.
I've just and all the traveling and stuff I've done, you can't buy rum anywhere, and then you're forced to either take it with you, which is an absolute pain going through customs and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's easiest to buy stuff there, and it's cheaper as well. Buying it from you go to a 7-Eleven in Thailand, and and you buy a bottle of Sang Som for $9 or something Australian.
Bundy is also very pungent compared to Spice Morgan. It's very pungent, very
very strong
and
flavour.
peaty. But I think you're right about them not exporting. Like I bartended for 10 years. I have 10 years bartending experience. I know COVID was in there, lockdown in the middle somewhere, so it can't really count. But I would have got my first job in obviously Europe, working as a bartender. Well, probably collecting glasses at 16, and then work my way to probably food service, and then bartending, and then eventually, as a manager of a popular bar and restaurant in Ireland. But also did it kind of when I was in Barcelona and things like that. But never heard of Bundaberg before I arrived in Australia. Always Morgan's, like you said, Ash.
Yep.
And now it's like part and parcel. Like it's as I said, it's the biggest one but it wasn't even that big in Sydney. It's only really since I've come to the territory, and I presume Queensland as well, that it's that it's the main drink. They just have to say rum.
Yeah.
And you just go straight for that bottle. You know, you have to specify Morgan's or
absolutely. Yeah, if you just order a rum and coke, it'll be a Bundy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the way you tell everyone that works the bar. Like if somebody orders rum, you don't have to ask them, is it Bacardi or Captain Morgan or Bundy or whatever. Like it's Bundy.
Yeah.
If they drink anything else, they'll specify. You know, obviously it's different for us here because we know you and we sit at the bar and you know what we drink. So you know.
There's definitely a few different things you got to get used to when you're over here. And for one, like leaving your glass when you're finished on its side means you're done.
Yeah, either that or converting to something else. Yeah. So don't get me another one of them.
Exactly. But also like,
well, that's a good tip for people that are going to work, especially. It wouldn't happen so much in the city, I don't think, but like certainly in like Outback pubs and remote places and stuff. Yeah, tipping your glass on its side means
it's a good way to do it.
You're not having any more, but you only have to do that if you've got good bar staff anyway, because good bar staff.
They'll nearly know when you're done.
As soon as your glass is nearly empty, they'll have it on tick. So like you and Hazel, when you're working the bar, you'll know, like you'll see our glass is nearly empty, and you'll be like getting prepared already. I'll finish this customer. By the time I finish him, I've got to get Ash and Mikey another beer.
And all they do is look at you, and you just give them a little nod or something. And that, enough said.
So you tip your glass on the side, and they go, okay, he's
finished.
He's either finished, he's going home, or like Mikey said, he's
we're going to Morgan's.
He's changed over. So rule of thumb for us has sort of been like beer, daylight.
Yeah.
As soon as it gets dark, then switch over.
That's a great way of doing it. That's a great way of doing it. That's it as well. Like, I mean, mid-strength beer is really popular here. It's not so much in Europe. You've got to specifically ask for and find hidden beneath the weaves mid-strength beer. Whereas I think it's a great way to do it. You can have 10 of them and you're not going to, make a fool of yourself by the end. And then you can go on to your rum, as you guys said. And it's a good way just to like pace yourself, especially if you're fishing or if you're daytime drinking. And I think I'm going to take that with me now from here on in. The 3.5% really, you've still got a beer in your hand. So you're killing the craving. You don't really need to rush yourself to get drunk. I mean, you still want to be able to chat to your mates. And
if you go and drink beer, just say you're out in the boat fishing and you go and drink 12 beers that day, whether they're mid-strength or full strength, you're still going to drink 12 beers.
Yeah.
So you might as well make them mid-strength.
And not write yourself up.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's true.
I reckon that's the way to go.
That's the other thing too, though. When it's hot, like it is here, especially now we're in the spring season, we're coming up into the build-up sort of time. You go in the boat for 8-10 hours, and it's 35 degrees in the shade. It's 50 degrees in the sun.
Yeah.
And if you're drinking heavies, you're just going to be absolutely wrecked.
In
a few hours. And the other thing is too, it's sort of I think mostly a territory thing, but it's also like a Outback thing as well. It's like you start drinking pretty early. Like if we're leaving here at 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun's coming up, we don't make it to the rock bar before we're cracking 10. And so if you're drinking heavies, like you've got another 8-10 hours of this. So
I will never forget the day that one of the locals here in King Ash Bay, I won't name names, decided to be really kind and take me as a backpacker who didn't really know that well at the time out fishing. So arrives to my house. I don't even know if I can say this, but beer in hand behind the wheel, 8 o'clock in the morning. And I jump in with my Yeti, which
that narrows it down to like 80% of people.
And I jump into the car and I've got my Yeti, which is like a coffee cup in hand. And he goes to me, "What are you drinking? Rum, is it?" I was like, "No, it's just coffee." He was like, "Open a beer, will you, please?" 8 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it's probably going back to being liberal. It's probably going back to being, do what you want kind of here. And it doesn't mean you got to stay out, all day and all night when you're doing that. I mean, you can finish up at 6 p.m. and you don't really have to be falling around the bar later on. You can just have your fun during the day, and then
when I'm back at home in Darwin with my wife and kids, in the afternoon I'll take the kids in the pool. I'll have a few beers, and my wife and I, we always call it start early, finish early.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a bit early to have a beer, but let's hit it hard now, and then we'll have an early dinner and go to bed early.
There's a novelty to daytime drinking. But I do want to make it clear that we're not sponsored by Bundaberg or
Yeah,
mid-strength beer.
We are looking for a sponsor though.
Yeah, and I will gladly take any
I'll
offers.
go back to Bundy. If we get sponsored
You
by
can just
Bundy.
pay me in mid-strength beer or Bundy.
Drink it. Sponsor. Yeah.
But
Speaking of full strength beer though, first thing, if we did a game show and we said, what's the first thing that you think of when you think of Ireland? It's going to be Guinness, right?
It's got to be Guinness, yeah.
So tell us about, like, does everyone smash Guinness?
Yeah.
In Ireland?
Yeah,
for
sure.
Because I think, would you have assumed that all Australians drink Fosters before you got here?
It was probably the only Aussie drink that I really knew of.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. I didn't really have any assumptions, really. And I know that it's so diverse because, as we already spoke about, I mean, Bundaberg isn't really popular in Sydney, as well as it's not really popular in Europe. It was only when I got here. But, when you think of Ireland, you definitely think of Guinness. And 99% of people drink it. It's just so happens that I'm probably in the 1% of Irish people that don't really drink a Guinness. I think you just go on to the
Does that
beer.
make you an outcast or?
No. There's definitely there's no repercussions. There's no slagging from your mates or any, there's no kind of, nobody really takes notice. But I mean, 99%.
Well, that's what he thinks. Like,
Yeah.
if we interview his mates from back home, they'd be like, "Oh, there's
What mates? I don't drink Guinness.
never trust a non-Guinness drinker."
But they apparently get you a lot more drunk than regular beer. Like, I mean, you see the really old guys in their 80s or whatever, and like sometimes they can be in the bathroom up against the urinals, and they're swaying, and it seems like 10 Guinness pints is the equivalent of maybe 7 or 8 beer lager pints. For some reason, I don't know why, it just has an extra kick.
Oh, the other way
to
around.
it.
Oh, yeah.
It gets you just more. It's more intense, I suppose. But
well, it's strong. Yeah.
Well, I suppose. But as I said, like beer and stout in most of Europe, especially Ireland, you don't really have your 3.5 mids%. You just have all the beers are really 4.3. You got to look for the mid-strength beers, as I said. So I think Guinness only sits at about 4.3% as well. But at the same time, I don't know why, but it just gets you a little bit more rocked than a 4.3% lager would, like a Heineken or a Carlsberg or a Coors Light or whatever. But yeah, 99%. It used to be a really male-dominant market, but like now, lots and lots of girls my age, young, like they're all having pints of Guinness as well, and some of them put it like it's probably sacrilegious, put a little drop of blackcurrant cordial into it just for a little.
What'd you call it?
Blackcurrant cordial.
Oh, blackcurrant.
Yeah. Well, not black. We're not racist here, but blackcurrant cordial would be, for the odd person that doesn't really want the full taste of Guinness.
Is Kilkenny Irish as well?
Kilkenny, yeah. It's known as like more of a craft beer.
Yeah, because if you go to an Irish pub in Australia, but they'll obviously have Guinness on tap, but a lot of the time they'll have Kilkenny as well. And I absolutely love Kilkenny. It's it's almost like a dessert beer, I reckon. Like,
yeah. The standard beers at home are really just like Heineken, Coors Light, Carlsberg.
Lagers. Yeah,
lagers. And then obviously Guinness is the main one. Everybody's drinking it. And
so that's considered I know it's like a stout, but it's in the ales category though. Is it one where they pump it?
They can, and that's especially old style. Like my grandfather as well, he would have ordered a half and half, which was when the bartender had a keg directly under the bar, just at room temperature at their feet, and then the other keg is in the cold room. Yeah. So a half room temperature and a half cold one. But it is a stout. It's not really an ale, but we do have ales like Smithwick's, red ales, and things like that. Kilkenny, as you said, I think just going back to that, it is more of like a craft beer in Ireland. So it's not one of your standards.
Okay, right, yeah.
You kind of got to go and look for it. It's a little bit special in only some bars will have it, and it's like nearly in the special kind of section, if you will. But I mean, look, there's lots of things that are good about Ireland, not just alcohol. When you think of Ireland, I think you think of like rugged, untouched land, and you've got the Ring of Kerry, which is absolutely beautiful for scenery, and you've got the Cliffs of Moher, probably all seen them. Harry Potter, I think, was one scene that was shot at Cliffs Moor. And you've got lots of, like, similar to King Ash Bay, barren, rugged land. You've got the Burren in County Clare and the Giant's Causeway up north of Ireland.
When he gets like this, I need to really tune in. Start saying all these words. I'm like, wait,
so
he's still speaking English?
These are all like really famous places in Ireland that
I'm just
tourists visit. But you've also got castles and you've also got like lots of history. Obviously, Australia. Like when I lived in Vancouver, I lived there for a few months when I was 19, so nearly 10 years ago. But like I was fascinated that the city was only 150 years old. And then Australia, I think, is, well, founded maybe in like 200 years ago or something. But like Ireland has such a rich history of, you feel like it's, you know, just goes back and back and back and back all the way, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, you'll have buildings that are 800 years older or more than sort of white settlement in Australia. Yeah,
I think if it had the weather, it would probably be one of the funnest, best places. You'll never get better hospitality and friendlier people, and that's what the Irish are known for. And you know, everybody is just up for a chat, and everyone says hello to each other, to complete strangers, you know, as they pass each other on the street. And there's just a lot of decency. There's a lot of like, there's a care for mankind, you know, and you know. You hear stories of big cities like, I don't know, let's say New York, for example, where somebody could be in real trouble and keeled over on the street and people don't want to get involved. They'll walk right over you. But Ireland, luckily, even in the cities, maybe not as much as the rural countryside, but like there's definitely still like, and I suppose it's the same as anywhere, but I just mean there's a real, there's a real sense of like community in Ireland. It comes with its problems, and the whole reason why I moved to Australia in the first place is, you know, at the moment we've got a renting crisis, a housing crisis as well for buyers, and we've got a big immigration problem, like issue at the moment, and we've got a cost of living crisis.
Are you explaining Australia or Ireland?
I know it sounds similar. I didn't really realize, because at least here has the weather, it has all the nature, it has an active lifestyle, it has more things to do that don't just revolve around alcohol. Lots of sights to see and things to do. And because it is so diverse, as we've already touched on, I mean, like Sydney is a super early morning people place. You know, you'll get surfers and joggers and coffee shops at 6 a.m. Other places have other things to offer, but we definitely came here, my partner Hazel and I, for that kind of, you know, just better lifestyle. And the sun, you're never going to complain about the sun. I mean, Ireland might get a summer of a week where it's like mid to, you know, maybe 28 degrees or something like that. Heat wave is exactly right. And so like with all of these issues at home, as well as the shit weather, as well as nobody being able to buy houses or find somewhere to rent, and all of these things going on. But yeah, there is a big renting crisis and housing crisis as well in Australia, as you said, Mikey, which I didn't really realize. But look, at least it has everything else, you know, that Ireland doesn't. I always wanted to travel. I always had my eye on the door, even when I was in school. And finally, when I got the opportunity, I'm so happy that I got the chance to come all the way over to the other side of the world. And as I said, we're going to go to Bali from here, and that's going to be Asia also ticked off the list, or at least I've step foot on soil, even though there's a whole lot more to do. But
the culture shock from here straight to Bali, that's going to be wild.
I haven't seen a busy road, and I haven't seen a tall building in 3.5 months.
Well, you won't see many tall buildings, but you'll see busy roads.
Yeah. Well, look, it's amazing that places like this still exist in the world.
Do not hire a scooter.
I will not.
Just, mate.
I've heard about this, but I also don't have any scooter or motorbike experience, so no.
I definitely not get a scooter.
Yeah.
Definitely did not get a scooter, mate. No.
But it's amazing that places like this, King Ash Bay, they still exist in the world because, as I said, we're on our regional work at the moment, but you can also do your regional work in places like Darwin and Townsville, and, you know, they're more built up areas. And, you know, I did spend one night in Darwin before I came here, and I spoke to another Irish girl. I didn't know her, but she was working at the hotel reception. And she was also completing her 88 days, and she had lived in Sydney too. And like she was doing, I think, half her work in a hotel reception and half her work in Darwin at night, bar work at nighttime. just to make up her hours or whatever. And she found it hard to get a job, found it hard to get an apartment, and then any money she earns, she spends like on the weekends in restaurants and in pubs and hairdressers and you name it, cinemas, whatever. Whereas King Ash Bay is like going back to the whole final frontier kind of thing. It's one of those places, and you don't get many of them in the world anymore, where a backpacker, even though I don't even own a backpack, can come here. The club have been very, very good to us. They provide the accommodation. We haven't had to pay a bill. We've just had to buy our own food and drink. And even when we work, we pay half price on the meals, you know. It's the cheapest bar in the Northern Territory. So for your night off or your 2 nights off per week, you know, you're not going to break the bank either to have a few drinks and enjoy yourself and blow off some steam. It does come with some hard work. We've worked 6 nights a week for 3.5 months. And for 50% of that, we've done mornings as well as evenings. So for 3 of those 6 days, we do the clean in the morning or whatever. But it's amazing that you can come here. I mean, like, it's so expensive in Sydney. For example, if you earn $1,000 a week, just for an example, just pulling this out of my, you know, backside, but your expenses are probably $900 by the time you pay rent, top up your travel card, or put fuel in your car. You've got your electricity, your Wi-Fi, you've got just like groceries, so much, like it's probably going to be $900. So you've got $100 left over at the end of the week, and you're either going to drink it on a Friday, or if you're good enough to stay in like a hermit, you're probably going to spend it later in the week on miscellaneous McDonald's and coffees that you didn't necessarily budget for. But it's tough to save in Sydney, and I will tell that to anybody that's coming out here or planning on or wishing on coming out to Australia. It's not everything that you see on Instagram. You know, it's not just the beautiful beaches and the wicked lifestyle. It also comes with with the renting crisis, having to find an apartment, and then you could have like things fall through and roommates moving out and finding new friends and missing family and finding a job, and there's always just so many little intricate things that like roadblocks that come up, and you know, it's not always A, B, C, D. So look, there is lots and lots of challenges to coming and traveling, but it's definitely worthwhile doing.
So being here, you've saved money enough to have an absolute blowout in Bali.
Exactly. Like, we've done really well. As I said, the club has looked after us. So it's one of the last places in the world, I would say, where you can come. All of your bills are kind of looked after. You can, you know, from being in Sydney just for the 6 months, like most of my savings that I brought over, they started to diminish because you're spending more than you're earning. So here, to come here and be able to top up and become more financially stable again, and then be able to do heaps of travel before getting back down to Sydney. And it's great because I just don't think in 2024 that there's just, the way the world has gone, there's just not many places that do that sort of thing anymore. So yeah, it's been really, really good in that sense.
So what's at the top of your list for when you get back to civilization? What have you missed? You're dying for some takeaway food, or yeah, definitely.
Things like sushi, and we have like an Irish Chinese food. Chinese people wouldn't even know what the fuck it was. It's a certain type of cuisine that's just like battered chicken and chips and spices.
Irish Chinese.
Yeah.
That's how I like my food, and that's how I like my women.
There's lots like that. But look, I have missed swimming because you can't swim in the river here with the Crocs. And
you can, but it's just not recommended.
Taking a chance. I've also missed things like just having like a barber's to get my haircut, or a cinema to watch a new movie, or a variety of restaurants that you can go to, and hustle and bustle of just like everyday busy life. But it is also nice to get away from that as well. And as I said, like, I've definitely been sculpted from like a person who's grown up in built up areas all my life to come in here. Like, my eyes have really opened to country, and it's definitely a different way of life. And I can see why a lot of people want to get away from all of that sort of craziness. It's definitely like a slower pace of life. It's stress-free. And I think, you know, everybody is like, there's no judgment here. It's it's definitely like everybody treats each other at face value. You can kind of get as drunk as you want, and the locals will nearly like take you home. In some parts of like cities in Europe and places like that, you'd wake up with no shoes and no phone and no, but like everybody's super caring here.
That's the thing. Is cities are most like, from what I've found. I haven't done lots of traveling, but I've done enough to have at least an educated opinion on it. Like cities, doesn't matter where you go in the world, are generally all the same. Like they're whether you're in Paris or you're in Geneva or you're in Sydney or New York doesn't matter. It's Bangkok, even like it's even in Asia. Like the cities are pretty well all the same. So it's if you go from living your life in even say Dublin and then come to Sydney. Apart from the weather and seeing some different birds and things like that, it's still fairly like within reason. It's still fairly similar. You've still got the same sort of set out, and the weather might be a little bit different, and but like it's when you get to places that are outside the cities that you actually really see the differences, and even if you don't enjoy it, it's still good to do it so you get the perspective.
100%.
So like I think
you definitely get thing. What you put in, especially when you come to King Ash Bay. If you make an effort with the locals and if you make your own fun, you're gonna enjoy yourself, But some people 100%. Who come here get a culture shock and then don't really respond in the right way, and they kind of have their back up and they just want to get their time done and go. I think that's gonna make life a lot more difficult and a lot slower. And I mean, look, there's lots to do here if you really put your mind to it. Yeah, well,
you're exactly right. There is and that's local knowledge is everything in anywhere you go, but like especially when you come here because it's not like a city where it's not sort of standardized. But
bush knowledge is similar. Like it's just as valuable as like street smarts and city knowledge. Like I hadn't, first of all, had any really fishing experience before I came to King Ash Bay, which is probably embarrassing to say because it's so prevalent here. But also, like I've, gone on road trips with some locals here that are my age or similar age to me, and my God, they know things that I would never know. That I wasn't taught. That bush kids would, look out for soft spots in the road, how to treat corrugation when you're driving, what to do if you are bit by a venomous animal, and stuff that I would not have a clue about, but it's super, super knowledgeable. It makes you 10 times
the
smarter
answer
than
to all three of those things is drive really fast.
True story.
Having a beer never hurts either. Is it okay to smoke? Or
I reckon we'll take a break.
Yeah.
And you have a smoke. I'll put some more stubbies on ice.
Sweet.
And we'll come back. And I'm super excited to talk about a particular subject.
Okay.
Which will spring on you.
Okay.
I think you'll like talking about it. But anyway.
Wow. Okay. I'm getting nervous.
Again.
Thanks, Doug.
We are live. Before we get on to that subject. Something that pricked my ears up before. You mentioned a 4-year degree before. Something I find amazing about a lot of the backpacker stuff we get through, a lot of people make assumptions about them. Like last year we had Decky and Ella, both Irish. Like one was a pharmacist, the other was an optometrist. I'm going to ask you about what your degree was, but we've had
Maddie and Maeve.
What were they qualified in? I can't even remember.
Oh, mate,
we should know. Yeah.
Well, we should know.
We should know. We really should.
Sorry, Maddie.
Because Maddie was number one, but anyway.
Sorry, Maddie.
Hey.
Sorry, Maddie.
I said you're in the top two.
I'll take it.
But anyway, so I think a lot of the sometimes some of the old timers here they rock up at the bar and treat them a certain way.
But every single I had this conversation just last night with somebody, or it might have been the night before, but the same conversation though was that every single backpacker that we've had up until now, I've employed.
Yep.
And every single one of them has had a degree of something. Yep. That's not why I employ them, but every single one has had a degree. And mate, honestly, when I've employed people, I don't even like, I'm not going to ring your references. I'm not going to, you know,
CV or a resume.
I'm going to get you on the phone. I'm going to talk to you for 10 minutes.
Ash is a caller.
And if you're sound, you're sound.
And I'm going to talk to you for 10 minutes. And
you'll know.
And I don't think I've missed really so far yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, every single person we've had has been you know, pretty good.
Yeah. Some have been adequate.
At a minimum, adequate,
yeah. But most people have been unreal. Yeah,
but the vast majority have been really, really good. So, and that's and just by chance, every single one of them though has had some degree. Like, I never went to university. I finished school and never went to uni. Never did anything like that. So,
I'm a uni dropout.
I don't. So for me, I don't look at that as like a major advantage.
No, it's definitely not something you need. I mean, it's pretty normal in Ireland. It's kind of following suit to like the American dream, quote unquote, and I hate that phrase, but it's pretty standard to do school, college, travel, and then probably pick up where you left off when you go home, and then you start going into career and buying houses and starting families, and you know, and obviously not everybody follows suit. And look, I'm one of those people. I haven't even used my college degree.
What did you study?
I studied law. I probably sound like an asshole now.
No way.
Yeah. So the plan was to be a solicitor, and I might.
You've got a law degree?
Yeah. I've got an LLB from the University of Limerick. Yeah. You're out of order. You're out of order. This whole courtroom is out of order.
Oh, Christ. Yeah. Wow. That's unreal.
Yeah, so it's pretty normal in Ireland, and I presume the rest of Europe. I mean, it's just to follow suit like that. I presume Australia as well, but it's definitely not something you need. I mean, I'm kind of jealous in some ways that people go straight into apprenticeships when they're 18 and they're out of school, or they go into starting businesses, and sometimes they skip out on the 4 years that everybody else is studying, and they've already got ahead of themselves and made, you know, money or got their qualification, and they're on like big bucks by the time people are just coming out of uni. And look, it never hurts to have, and I think you know, to have that piece of paper is always going to be beneficial at the same time. But it's definitely got my foot into certain jobs that I probably wouldn't have at the same time. Like, I worked in a tech company in Ireland. There's lots of multinational companies in Ireland because we only have 12% corporation tax. So there's big companies like Google, Facebook, Intel, Microsoft, and like pharmaceuticals like Johnson & Johnson, and, you know, that are big American usually. And am I allowed to name the company that I worked in?
Yeah. So you tell me.
Well, I worked in Uber in their European headquarters, I suppose. Well, at least they've got big office buildings in Ireland, and I went on the legal team there for a year before I came to Australia, and it was my first proper job that was outside of bartending. That was only a way to get me through my teens and get me through, you know, college and things like that, as you know, support myself and pay my way and have some pocket money. But yeah, I was really happy when I got like a quote unquote big boy job in Uber, dealing with the UKI, the English and Irish market, for the taxi service, but also the food delivery service. You know, a lot of people, when I tell them that I worked for Uber, they thought I was that delivery man. You know, you forgot my garlic dip, you motherfucker.
I usually beep the swearing. I'm not beeping the swearing when he does.
I don't understand anyway.
Yeah, but no, what were we even talking about? We were just talking about college and garlic dip. Oh, well, that's a whole topic in itself. We can go on that all day.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I think you call it aioli, and don't get me started.
Yeah. All right, well, let's rewind the clock back for 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the UFC was on, and Ash has got a big screen TV at his place. So he said, "Oh, well, let's pop around and watch it at his place."
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Well, normally, every time there's a big UFC event, or big UFC or boxing. A boxing event where there's an Australian boxing for any sort of title, anything, like, standard procedure is always just pay for it
Get
and
some people over.
and get some people over, have a few beers,
that was
have
a good
feed,
day.
whatever.
That was a really good day.
And this one was there was the what do they call it? The
Sphere?
Noche? It was at the Sphere, but it was like the Mexican.
Noche UFC or UFC. Noche,
well, I know Buenos Noches is like good evening in Spanish. It was something Noche, but it was the Mexican, I think, celebration.
Yeah, was it
Mexican Independence Day? I think.
What it fell on.
Yeah.
So Dana White's got the Sphere, and the Sphere, like,
wow,
I can tell you from personal experience, the Sphere is the most amazing building, entertainment thing that you'll ever go and see. Like
U2, which obviously are an Irish band, they were the first ones to ever play a concert in there. But I'm also a big Formula One fan, and they did some great graphics for when the Formula One was on in Vegas. They had like cartoon graphics on the outside of Formula One helmets and things like that. But going back to the UFC, like the graphics that they did there was
unbelievable, and that's what I was looking forward to, because after being in the Sphere, just going through their one of their standard programs.
You just did a tour, like
actually, they call it the Sphere Experience, and then you go in and you watch the I think it's called like Postcards from Earth or something like that. Maybe is the program that actually plays inside the Sphere. And like it's nothing does it justice compared to being there in person, because your peripheral vision, everything like that is completely
360.
It's even though the screen inside isn't full 360, the way they've got the way you're seated, if you're looking straight ahead, you can see like all your peripheral, everything. It's just it's full immersion.
Technology in the world right now is crazy. You've got the introduction of AI as well and things like that.
And they've got that at the Sphere. When you do the Sphere Experience, they've got AI robots on stands there. You can actually go and talk to these AI robots and ask them questions and talk to them. And
well, I tell you
it's unbelievable. But with Dana White, like he said, this is going to be like a one-off thing. This is going to be the best entertainment thing, the best sporting event anytime ever in human history. Like, we're doing it at the Sphere. We're gonna like everything. The graphics going to be worked out, and like
it's a one-off.
So I was so excited just to watch it. Yeah, I was so excited just to watch it to see how it would look at home.
Me too.
And then we're watching it at home, and we're like Mikey's pointing out, there's fucking drones flying around.
Yeah. We were losing our minds, and it was on the TV. Imagine actually being there.
Yeah, it was
insane.
Just it would have been cost $1 million for a cheap seat, but. It was just unbelievable. So that was the big thing of it, because although Sugar Sean was the main event, so
got absolutely dominated.
Yeah, we're keen to watch that anyway. But like just being at the Sphere, I was so excited just to see how they're going to put it all on. So anyway, we got Jack had the day off, I think. So
So the reason I brought this up was one of the undercard fights or whatever was on, and we're sitting there watching, going, bash him, whatever, and he starts popping out these terms like he's like, I don't even know what rear nakeds and triangles. He's in full guard. Half mount, full guard. Like, he knows. Then he whips out the phone and brings out some old photos, which you're gonna airdrop to me, and we're gonna bring up right now.
Yeah, no problem.
So how old were you when you were? Tell us from the very beginning. How you've done some MMA before?
Yeah. So when I was younger, the sport of like boxing and martial arts always appealed to me. But my mother wouldn't ever really let me do it when I was young. She just thought it might be a bit too like argy-bargy, a bit too kind of rough on the body. So I think when I was able to make my own decisions around the age of 16, I picked up boxing in the next town from where I grew up, which is only a 10-minute drive. Went to the local martial arts clubs with my two best friends, and just fell in love with it straight away. And no, I'm good here, Mikey. Thank you. But yeah, fell in love with the sport straight away and really treated it like a full-time job for about 3 or 4 years. Got to a pretty high standard in the sense that, like, looking back on it now, we were young. We used to participate in the adults class and not the teen or
you
kids
keep saying
class.
young. So how old are you talking?
Probably 16 to about 19, 20.
So you did it for a few years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Treated it like a full-time job, though. Like, I mean, we would train probably 6 or 7 days a week. Some similar to King Ash Bay, sometimes mornings and evenings. Would jog on, the outset just to keep the fitness up. 5Ks just around the town. and ate all the right foods. I remember at one stage I was, cooking with coconut butter instead of olive oil, or any sort of greasy stuff. And I remember being in really, really good shape back then. And I mean, we took it pretty seriously. We started to get some fights. We got to my friends and I, that's why I'm saying we, because we always did it together. It got to a green belt, which is, I think, the highest you can go under 18 years of age in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I remember participating in the adults classes, and some of the adults didn't take any notice of it at the time, but they were kind of saying to our coach, these guys are, if they keep this up now the way they're going, and because you'd be sparring and rolling with grown men that are way heavier than you, but like you'd be doing flying arm bars, which are like an arm bar from standing position, where you just jump and just land on the ground in an arm bar.
Yeah, I'd call that like a tarantula.
Yeah, so like
jumping spider.
We didn't realize that we were good at the time, and I don't mean to speak like that about myself, because I don't give myself a pat on the back. But just looking back on it now, because I don't have that fitness anymore, got a couple of teen fights both in boxing and in MMA when I was younger. But it was different back then. There wasn't as many, like, we didn't really wear head guards. We did in sparring and in training, but like we didn't in a real fight. We did wear shin pads, but the adults didn't have to. And it was it was a pretty good experience. I feel like if any kids out there or any parents right now are listening and their kids want to go to martial arts, it's given me like a real sense of confidence and just comfortableness. Like when I'm roaming around busy cities like that we've already touched on, but where you have to look over your shoulder when you're using the ATM in case you get mugged, or just any sort of and like I'm not a fighter, like I'm not out there starting fights ever. It's always the last, and I never have really, but I just know that if I really had to, that like I could probably fight someone and throw a punch correctly and things like that. And it just definitely gives you a sense of as I said, like comfort. But yeah, it was a fun few years. I think when I fell off the bandwagon a little bit, you take some time off and then you look back at that fitness and at that, discipline. And like, I think when you start getting to maybe, well, what happened to me was like college, drinking age, women, things like that. And it's hard to keep up that much discipline when you're trying to enjoy yourself at the same time. And that's what really made me kind of, stop training full time. But I nearly regretted it, like at this stage, because maybe I could have, done well and gone a little further, because people that were doing well at my age now have gone to top level in Europe. And they would have, like, even Conor McGregor himself, when I was doing it, like this was before he blew up, but he used to be doing corners for teens from his club. Like that my friends, so if somebody is fighting like from my club, someone from Conor McGregor's club, Conor used to be doing their corner. Yeah, wow. And this is before he blew up in the UFC and things like that. So I mean, it was definitely worth doing, and it's a memory that I've cherished.
How old are you now?
I'm 28.
Yeah, righty, eh? Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying you should go back and do it and to try and do it at an elite level, but just for fun, would you go back and do it and train?
Yeah. Like even when I go to just the normal gym now in Sydney, there's a boxing bag there, and I bring my boxing bags, and I've never fallen out of love with the sport, and that's why it was so much fun when we went to yours, Ash, to watch the event that we just spoke about. I mean, I still watch all of the UFCs. For a while, I wasn't really watching every event, and now I've fallen out of touch with like current like fighters and all of the statistics that are like, up to date at the moment. And I always just like keep up to date with the fighters from back then. So anybody that I recognize from my time when I was like religiously doing it, I'm like, oh my God, this person or this person is fighting or whatever. But I've kept up a little bit with Sugar Sean and people like that. It's hard to miss them,
Yeah, the big names like
the big names.
Sugar Sean, Paddy the Batty,
but sometimes their opponents, like the big names opponents, I wouldn't know. That kind of way. But
a lot of them are like Dagestani or or South American. So
Georgian,
Georgian,
and they've got a certain style of fighting, which you made it very clear that day that you didn't like. Yeah.
Well,
and it's not enjoyable to watch.
No, well, I think the Tajikistani thing is a big one because their style of fighting is like wrestling based. So they're the type to like grab you by the hips, drag you down, lie on top of you, smother you.
Yeah, just wear you out.
And drag it out for 5 rounds before they get the win.
Well, it worked against Sugar Sean.
Yeah, for sure.
Sugar Sean did not have a hope in that match. It was embarrassing.
He didn't show up as himself that day, and usually he has been a phenomenon for a while, and I think he had the potential to win many more fights, but yeah, just an off day for him, I think, in the last event, and lost the belt.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it goes. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I'm going to have forever now. Just like UFC, MMA, and boxing is always going to be probably, excuse me, one of my main sports, along with soccer and along with Formula One, and yeah, a little bit of rugby and stuff. But I'm trying to adapt to the Australian sports now. It's too hard to keep up with the soccer because that's on in the Premiership, like the Premier League in England is on like middle of the night here. So yeah, trying to get into NRL a little bit, but it's different to Union because it's league, right? So there's some different rules, and obviously I don't know the history of the teams and the players and stuff. But I'm trying to, I went to an AFL game as well in Sydney. I saw the Swans playing the Giants, which was a derby, and I went really just as a tourist. But since I've been working in the bar, the TV is always on, and on big sport nights you'll have AFL on one TV and NRL on the other TV. So I am paying attention, and slowly but surely I'm kind of starting to get accustomed to
trying to pick it up a bit.
Yeah, exactly. You want to bust open this rum?
Oh, fuck,
we should have one.
Yeah.
While we're recording.
We'll take that water out of them glasses.
I thought we might start with one. But
Will I pour the water out?
Just straight on the floor will do, mate. To be honest, just concrete
Right
floor's
here?
fine. Yeah, right there's fine, mate. Well, not there.
Get a wet floor side.
Get a wet floor side.
Health and safety.
Man.
Oh God.
Let's have a look. Oh, I want to have a sniff.
Sorry.
I'm a smeller.
Smeller.
I really am, man. Oh, well, we're going to like it. I can promise you that.
Can I smell also?
Absolutely, mate.
Wow.
It smells
Deep and rich.
yeah. I'm not good with words, but it smells very drinkable. Yeah, so we'll I'll just pour a little bit into each, eh?
Send it, mate. Send it.
Jeez, I'm getting the royal treatment here on my last day. It's been emotional in the last while, like, sentimental nearly, in the sense that starting to give like last goodbyes to everybody. We had a fire on the beach last night, which one of the lovely locals, Maria, she threw, and we didn't, like Hazel and I, my partner, we didn't realize it was for us, but I think a lot of people made the effort to swing by. We nearly had half the
town
locals,
mate.
yeah, half the locals at least, the people that are embedded in King Ash
spewing
Bay.
I wasn't here, mate. I only just got back.
Just missed out,
3 hours I've been back at King Ash Bay.
We had fun. I'm actually on a bit of a rollover at the minute. We probably drank till 4 a.m. I woke up this morning, had a quick shower, and now I'm back drinking again. I haven't even had breakfast.
And stuck him out of bed to get here to do the
Yeah.
podcast. So I'm
it was
glad you got
ropey.
it. All bars open, by the way.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's dangerous. He's meant to be working.
Oh, shit.
It's his last day. It's all right.
It's my last day. I can't get fired.
Hazel's covering for him. It's all right.
We'll vouch for him.
Mhm.
I might swap that can of Coke. Do you want to have a tiny splash of Coke in
Oh,
it?
I think so. Yeah.
I'll swap that can of Coke over for a cold one. Just give him the. We won't do song nominations yet, but just give him the rundown so we can try and think of one.
Oh, I already did last night. Already given the rundown, mate.
Yeah.
I told Jack last night. We've got a playlist which is the Golf Mud Grabbers playlist. It's Spotify.
I'm a
And
fan.
go download it.
I'm following.
And then anyone that we get on the podcast, just say, righto, give us a song or a couple of songs. Doesn't matter. You can do multiple, whatever,
Yeah,
whatever you want, mate. Anything you think that if it has some meaning to you, if it's
But it's funny, actually.
Yeah.
I'm probably sound like a wanker again, but you can beep that one out. But, I'm a bit of a music enthusiast, or I hate to use the word like connoisseur, but I honestly have a passion for music. And
I know, because I'm pretty sure I carried your bag at the airport for a bit, and I was asking what you had in there because it was bloody heavy. And you had like a whole like
DJ
mixing decks in your bag. I'm like, you travelled around the world with a set of DJ mixing decks.
the essentials only.
And I've seen it once, which was last Monday, and you set it up for fucking 10 minutes. And
yeah, okay, so I will explain. My father taught me everything that he knows about music, and I grew up with a lot of great music that he taught me. No, I'm good for a beer, thanks, Mikey. So I have a lot of prior knowledge that probably people my age wouldn't have, in the sense that he brought me right through from his up. I think he was born in '66. So I have all of that, as well as the modern day stuff. Like, you could catch me listening from anything from stupid like hip hop and how like rap music to house and dance music, but then all the way to like reggae, disco, like Frank Sinatra, or any of the like the goldies like Elton John and Amy Winehouse.
Start spreading the news.
I'm leaving tomorrow. Bali.
Well, all the genres you mentioned I don't particularly like, but the sense that you're talking about, I reckon Ash and I are probably very similar, where like like if we plugged Ash's phone in right now and played songs at random, there'd be all kinds of music, and it would be all good stuff of a lot of genres. It's not just all country music. Same with mine. Like, you go back from 90s rock to way more older stuff than that.
Well, that's the point that I was going to make. Yeah, like, I'm a big rock fan. I forgot to mention that genre, but also country music was something that I wasn't necessarily had too much knowledge about before I came here. But oh my god, it's like religion. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Country music. Now I've got a new play, like, cause I'm one of those people that like categorize all my music on Spotify or like Apple Music or whatever platform that you're using to stream your music on. I categorize everything, so disco songs go into disco, reggae songs go into reggae, and so on and so forth. But I've spent hours doing it. Now I have a country and Western playlist, and everything from Slim Dusty to Drinking and Dreaming or whatever. There, I know all the words to these songs at this stage, because it's so part and parcel here in King Ash Bay, and probably the territory, and probably Queensland as well. But just not something that I had prior knowledge of before.
When I was over there grabbing that can of Coke, I heard you saying to Ash that you follow, like, you have the Golf Mud Crabbers playlist.
Yeah, got it.
Well, and we know that because when we're sitting at the bar having a drink,
I sometimes play it.
And well, sometimes like all the songs that have been nominated, our ears pick up. We go, oh, like, then the next
I
song.
love this one.
He's playing it again. Yeah. So
when you're having a drink and you've got familiar music on, it's always going to make the vibe a little bit better. You're going to enjoy yourself that little bit more.
So you're looking after us, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, like, there's some nights that I just purposely put on well-known classics and stuff, because I read my crowd, and I see that they're up for a good time, and I look at my age group, and I look at my drunkenness level, and I look at like a lot of different factors, and then I'll decide, okay, I'll actually select the music from here on in, and I'll go and I'll have people dancing and singing and shouting and probably getting drunker than they need to be.
That's what makes a good bar stuff. That's what makes good bar stuff. Is that they're not looking at like just rubbish. They're literally scanning for things like that. Like, what's the the rough average age here? Okay, well, I'll put that sort of music on from that sort of era and try and get people keen to stay, keen to have a few more drinks. Even like and like your partner Hazel, like, she's amazing too. Like, even like her first or second day, they're like, we're at happy hour, and she's like, oh, do you want another drink? Like, he's nearly out. Do you want another drink? Like, happy hour's going to close soon.
Before it finishes.
Like,
I'll have 10 more. 10 more. I'll pay for them now. I'll pay for them now.
We don't allow that.
Oh, well. Okay, 9.
But she's like, oh, straight away. Like, just straight onto it, though. Like,
my uncle used to call it just being switched on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's when you get a bar staff like that, like you guys, it's just so good. So good.
Keep the drinks flowing and just keep the the mood.
People would be
positive.
blown away the difference that it makes, though, having good bar staff. Because you have bar staff like that especially if you're sitting at the bar, not just standing up and lining up to get drinks, but if you're sitting at the bar drinking, the difference a good bar staff, bar staff member makes is unbelievable. Like
Or even to turnover, it would.
Well, watching when you've got like only a little bit of a drink left, saying, "Oh, would you like another one?" and having it there, and literally you're swapping glasses, giving the empty one back as you get the full one, like things like that, which like you guys have done really, really well. And
I'll actually
and it is
check.
it is noticed, it's noticed by people. So.
I do appreciate it. It is nice, and everybody has been so appreciative and thankful and acknowledgeable about our look. As I said, I did it from 16 to 26, so it's nearly just like an automatic switch at this stage. You kind of do it without thinking, and I enjoy it because I enjoy drinking myself, not behind the bar, but I enjoy a night out and music and everything. And I know that when I'm drinking on the other side of the bar, that I don't necessarily want my night to end too early, or I want it to be as fun as possible. So then I try and recreate that for other people, and I'm never going to shut up shop too early. If people aren't done yet, they're not done, and it's been weird because the new backpackers, the guys that have just arrived that are replacing Hazel and I mean, they don't necessarily have too much bar experience, not in the way that we each have done it for 10 years. My partner has managed big sports bars before they've even opened. So you're in charge of doing everything from getting suppliers and cable TV and then running it when the doors eventually do open to the public. So she has a lot of, she's worked in 5-star hotels and things like that. So she has a lot of experience as well. And I mean, the new backpackers are great, but it is weird trying to teach people something that's so automatic for yourself, even just how to pour a pint in the first place. But they seem to be getting on really, really well. And they're picking it up quite quickly as well. So I don't think King Ash Bay is in too much trouble. I mean, you'll get along just fine, and they're really good people as well.
Oh, good. I haven't met them yet, so
yeah, they're lovely. One is French and one is German.
Oh, righty,
Yeah, and going back to early conversation about being stuck in Sydney and sometimes being in the one city because you've got the Monday to Friday job and stuff. They're the complete opposite. So they actually took their van from Sydney all the way down south to the Great Ocean Road, and then they turned it at about the centre of South Australia and went all the way up through the middle and then all the way through the middle of the territory. And it's really cool. The guy that's there, he's such a lovely bloke, but he has the map of Australia on his wall. And with a permanent marker, he's drawn the line that he's driven.
Yeah, awesome.
And it's a pretty far distance. And I mean, his van does not look like it would get up the Baton Road. So I don't know how the fuck. But yeah, they've come a long way. And I suppose it's something I also wanted to mention. It's probably going off topic, but I think going to Sydney and doing the whole, or Melbourne, or basically what I'm trying to say is being stuck in one spot, it can help in the sense that you're working towards sponsorship and things like that. So you're going to stay in Australia far longer than...
So sponsorship? It's almost like becoming a citizen sort of thing.
It's similar. If a workplace likes you enough, they can say, okay, I want to sponsor you.
Yeah.
So as long as
it's separate. So the 88 days, that gets you an extra year.
Yeah.
But then the next step from that is sponsorship.
To put it really simply, anybody on our visa, it doesn't matter if you're Irish, English, French, German, whatever. If you apply for a visa to come to Australia, you get 1 year on a working holiday visa. Yeah. I think it's like a subclass 417 is the technical term. You get 1 year. And if you do your 88 days of quote unquote regional work, you get a second year. In your second year, if you do 6 months regional work or remote work, you get a third year, which is, as I said earlier, a great way for the government.
So when are you coming back? When it's 6 months.
Well, it is Easter 25.
The only criticism, the critique that I have is if you do your 3 months in your first year of your regional work and you've just earned your second year, you've got to give 50% of your second year away that you've just earned
to
get your third year.
It's almost like paying 50% tax on.
It would be nice if they just gave you the
Yeah.
second year and then you could do the regional and then you could do your next year. But so I mean,
Well, just saying, next year I'll have my new boat beep.
You got your you haven't got it yet?
No, it arrives on the 4th of October.
Friday. October. Oh, it's a few days.
Oh well, so I should be able to get this up for this Friday. So the day that you're listening to this, folks,
you've just got your new boat.
My new beep. I haven't announced it yet. I have not announced it, but yeah, it's happening. It's October's going to be wild. Between that thing that we beep.
Mikey's given an inkling.
And then our Kimberley trip for the second half of August. Oh my goodness, it's going to be wild.
Yeah, you've got some fun ahead of you.
And we'll get some photo and video updates from Bali as well, which we'll post.
I'll send a postcard. I am gonna miss the place though. Honestly, you get so used to we've met a lot of genuine mates here now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the age demographic is. Everybody is just friends, and I think that's one of the most amazing things about King Ash Bay is
Well, I think it's the Northern Territory overall. I think is that if you're 18 or 80. Mm-hmm. You're sort of treated the same. It's a very common sense sort of place to live.
Yeah.
And maybe if you live right in the CBD of Darwin, it's maybe different. But if you live anything outside of the CBD of Darwin is pretty rural.
I think in cities a lot of the time, and from my own kind of upbringing, you kind of stick to your own age demographic and you kind of treat people that are older than you as if it's different, but. Obviously, I've grown up a lot. I'm my own man now, and I suppose that comes with maturity as well. But honestly, the Northern Territory is a place that there's no frills. So everybody, as long as you're an adult, I suppose,
and don't judge a book by its cover here. People that you think are the most feral, bloody, just by looking at them. That they could be the richest person in camp.
Well, my partner
quite often happens.
My partner, her two brothers, they're yachties in the south of. Well, actually, one is a bar manager and one is a yachty, but he has a wife that's also a yachty, and always said Cannes is kind of for the rich and famous, I suppose, in the south of France. It has the Cannes Film Festival and just it's expensive place or whatever, but it's very beautiful. And we actually visited the brother once upon a time, but. The point that I'm making is, like you were saying, Mikey, the guy that's actually in the Irish bar in Cannes in his tongs and shorts and singlet and with a crusty old book in his hand is the guy that's a millionaire, And we really noticed that, and I won't name names, but there was one really kind local. And backpackers, if there's any backpackers out there listening, you'll probably agree, there is so much goodness in the world in the sense that people really go out of their way to offer you still to this day and age for dinner in their house or for any sort of handouts or help along the way that they can give, especially in the territory and places like that. Maybe cities are a bit different, but going back to my point, guy that we just waved at every day, never really spoke to, even though we served him drinks at the bar, didn't know him that well, stopped his four-wheeler, his quad bike one day and just said, "You working today?" We were sitting on our veranda, our decking area outside of our accommodation, and said, no, we're off every Monday. And he said, okay, I'm cooking crab at my house, come by 4:00. So we went up and he cooked this beautiful crab meat with a chili jam, and we got to really, really know him. And over time I realized, even though he never gave anything away, multi-millionaire, had a supercar in Melbourne, had worked as an engineer, but had worked for big names like Walt Disney, and I probably shouldn't say too much, but I mean,
do you know who he's talking about?
I think so.
Yeah, I've narrowed it down to a few people, but
it's just he was so cream and so proper, but that's the beautiful thing about King Ash Bay. I mean, people like that, as well as your everyday person like myself, they come to get away. And just live with a certain sense of freedom that you don't get on other holidays. You're really just you, the ground, the world. even cooking on fires or, back to basics kind of a thing. And I'm sure there's plenty more that I'm probably just not even aware of.
Oh, for sure, mate. Don't worry. There's plenty of closet millionaires here that are mate. They're walking around in ripped shirts and thongs and footy shorts. And,
Absolutely.
It's great to see.
But they own massive big properties, or they're in some sort of business that you've never even heard of, and they're we've had people fly in here that are very, very wealthy people, and apart from them flying in, if you go and meet them at the bar, like they're
just a regular Joe.
Absolutely,
and it is good because it's, as much as we try and promote the place, and Mikey makes his videos and stuff, like it's a place where people can get away from that sort of thing, though.
Yeah, well, I suppose King Ashby, I'm just going to come up with a term. It's the great neutralizer. As in, if you're worth $50 million and you're here,
it doesn't matter really.
Or if you're worth nothing, like me.
It's face value.
Like, we both go out in a boat on the river, and do you have a chance of catching a fish, or you have a chance? It's the great neutralizer here. There's no way you can sort of.
It's so true. And I think it's funny that you mentioned fishing, because like I had no fishing experience before I came here, but I've been out on the water. Like the locals are so good, and that's going back to like people going out of their way for backpackers, but they'll take you out. It doesn't matter if they're only here a few days. Sometimes they'll just say, "Hey, are you free tomorrow? You want to come out? We're going out anyway." And like you go out, you make really good friends with them. I now know how to flick a fishing rod, and whether it's not getting a bird's nest or how to undo a bird's nest mainly. But I know there's the other, and I'm probably speaking like a simpleton, but there's the other type of fishing rod that just has where you flip over left and right.
So you spinning or egg baiter or spinning reel,
Yeah, but like I caught my first fish here not too long ago. Look,
first fish. I know you said you didn't come from fishing, but it was your first fish.
First fish. So I grew up by the beach in Ireland. And the main fish in Ireland are things like salmon, cod, mackerel, haddock, and some people with fishing experience, and especially Irish, will probably kill me. But I'm very I don't have a lot of
But you
knowledge.
never fished there? Or if you did, you never caught
When we were young, we used to go out on the kayaks and throw a net, or in this hot, like that 1 week of summer that we get per year, you can see them jumping.
Heat wave.
Yeah, so I grew up by the harbour where the trawlers come in. And like you can see it because there's a flock of seagulls following the boat, right? And there is like serious fishermen out there. But for my personal experience, like it was just you would grab your dad's and your friend's dad's fishing rod, and on that hot week you would go out, and when you can see the mackerel jumping, you would just throw a line in and see what bites. And sometimes you get 2 or 3 mackerel or something on a line. And then we used to go down to the restaurants and sell them, and they probably felt so bad for us that they give us $10 just to throw them in the bin. But I caught my first fish here, which was nothing fancy, just a bream.
Brim's all right.
Probably, like I'm saying, 40 centimeters, probably 38 at best.
40.
I've got a photo.
42. Yeah, airdrop. Just airdrop it.
Airdrop it, and it's on screen. No.
Yeah, right now you're looking at this stonker brim. You heard the word stonker before?
Yeah.
Of course he has. He's
so there's a few
days.
Aussie phrases like bonza.
Bonza.
We're not talking about bonza anymore.
I was saying
that's gone.
In your daily vocabulary, you wouldn't say bonza? No, neither.
No.
I love when people
Give me some good stuff.
Okay, what else is there? Well, like Coldie is another one.
Coldie, well, Coldies, we use Coldies every day.
But like
Coldies before Goldies.
Aussies
you got the hat on your head.
Yeah.
If you read it backwards, it's Coldies before Goldies.
Aussies
Isn't that what it's supposed to be? It's Goldies before Coldies.
Oh, no, you've been breaking the rules the whole time.
I've messed it up every trip.
Look, I said it earlier, it's more a set of guidelines, really. It's not a rule. It's a set of guidelines.
But Aussies, they put an O or an I on the end of everything. So, for example, but like a service station, or what I would call a petrol station, is a servo.
Yeah.
or a bottle shop, what I would call an off license, is a bottle-o. And just there's an O or an I on the end of everything. So you've got a Coldie, Servo,
Have you ever? Well, you said there's an I on the end. Have you ever heard days of the week with an I on the end? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Have you heard those?
Yeah, I always put it down to the accent.
No, it's someone in Melbourne, for example, would never say Monday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, I feel like even though it's only been 10 months, I've just gotten so accustomed to just the everyday people.
Yeah.
So it kind of just goes over the head now at this stage. But at the same time, there's huge differences between the culturally, that kind of way, which is it's been fun. It's been fun, and I think it's probably an invaluable life experience. That kind of way. I think I'll go back at the end of the day, and going back right to the start of this podcast, I said that I always wanted to travel, and I hope I go back, if it goes to that Irish dream kind of thing that we spoke about, and I hope I feel when I do start my career and I become a little bit boring and do the whole house and family thing, that I'll just remember the traveling stages. And I think it has sculpted me in a certain way that I wouldn't have gotten just by staying at home.
I think you're 100% right. And I reckon whether you like it or not, this time here has changed you.
Yeah, for sure.
It will have, even if it's subconsciously or just in any way. I feel like we will have definitely, your course in your life has changed because you came here.
Well, do you know what's crazy?
And I love that.
I've come a long way from leaving Ireland, just because when I did go to Sydney, I started working in construction just as a general labourer. So just pushing the wheelbarrow or digging the hole in the heat. I will say in the heat because it was Sydney summer. And
it definitely gets hot in Sydney, yeah.
Sound like a beep, but obviously with a 4-year law degree, and I definitely do sound like a beep. But
I could be a lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm here shoveling.
And I don't mind that. I'm I'm a very what you see is what you get kind of person, and I don't consider myself bigger or better than anything. I just a normal person, but I'm not afraid of hard work, and I think Irish people aren't afraid of hard work. We've grown up with a culture that's
I think a lot of Australia was built on the Irish.
Yeah, well, there's that famous photo in New York, right, of people sitting on the skyscraper, on the beam, and eating their lunch. But it was scary because Irish and Italians, they were the main kind of build. Obviously, Irish have a rich history of immigration, and they helped build a lot of cities similar to Australia. We obviously also had a lot of colonization and troubles in the past and stuff. But Australia was one of also the main places that, amongst other the US, that Irish people went to. And anywhere that there's a shovel, there's usually an Irish person, and that's why I think I jumped into construction, because my ancestors probably did the same thing, and I wanted to try my hand at something new. So even though I had done bar work and a law degree and worked in a tech company and now construction in Sydney, and then back to bar work, and I think I'll look for an office job when I go back to Sydney next time. I have a whole another year now to look forward to, and I can be a little bit more settled than I was in the beginning when I was rushing to get a job. It's
such a strange thing to think about, though, because if somebody finishes school in Australia, and you wouldn't know, but Mikey might be on the same page with me. Say you finish at a good school, you're at a private school or something like that, and you finish and you go to Bond University, and you study law for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. You would never go to somewhere like Ireland or England and then get a job in construction.
Or work or bar work and scrubbing toilets.
You would never do that.
It's hard to travel.
It's
hard to travel.
What is that about us Australians that we? When I say we, I mean Australians, not me personally, or you, but that you go to if you go to university,
you go straight.
all of a sudden like you're sort of looked at as a bit of a higher person or something. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're regarded a little bit differently to like somebody who hasn't gone to uni.
Strange.
Yeah.
Just 'cause
I did go to uni. I did drop out. I don't have a degree. I dropped out a 4-year degree. I dropped out after 3.5 years. Stupid, but
You only had 6 months to go.
yeah, but I don't know. I sort of don't regret it as well. That being, I still have a debt, but I don't sort of.
You still have the knowledge also, though. What
a
was it?
little
What
bit.
was the subject?
Multimedia it was, yeah. But in the first 2 years of it, I was my tutors. You had lectures and tutorials.
Yeah, same as us.
The tutes. I would be teaching the tut.
okay.
I had that much sort of industry experience, but I was sort of ahead of the curve.
Look, there's no
like I
kissing
was
ass.
teaching them how to do it.
There's
Sort of
no
thing.
kissing ass here.
I can physically remember at least a few occasions where like, no, this isn't possible. I'm like, oh no, like I can think of 3 ways to do this.
There's
and
no
I showed
kissing
them,
ass
and they're
here,
like,
but
oh wow.
you both are like very, very intelligent, and like I've noticed that over the 3 months that I've been
Obviously,
here.
me more than
No
him.
kissing ass, and obviously your partner Kate as well, Ash, very intelligent, and I've said that about you guys to other people. I don't know if it's ever gotten back. I know King Ash Bay is a small place, but I have literally said to people, you know, like if you talk to these guys, like they are super intelligent, and it probably ties back into. It's not just street smarts. It's not just your college smarts, and it's not just your city street smarts. It's a mix of everything. But you guys are very well very well able to make solid factual points as you speak.
We've all got
I've
our
noticed
strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Him in particular, like he is so well read and researched on events. Like I've said this, I reckon at least 10 times on the podcast before. Never pick an argument with. Well, if you pick an
pick an argument.
If you
with
pick
him.
an argument with him,
This man's going to be a politician one day.
If he argues back at you, back down straight away.
Fucked, yeah.
Because I guarantee
You're
you,
beat.
he is correct because he will have been researched on that issue, and he knows he's right.
You know what you're talking
If he's not sure if he's right, he'll back down.
Well, that's the best way to be.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
absolutely. But that's right. He knows a fair amount on a range of subjects.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Where with me. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, go on, mate. Go on.
Thank you.
Ash and I will talk amongst ourselves, eh? He says bathroom, but he has a smoke in his hand.
We'll pour a rum, mate.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, well, we can play some background music. What do you reckon?
Ooh. What was he? Country roads, take me on. I had the most requested song last night. Oh, Jesus.
I don't know. We're still rolling, so we may still keep us going with this. It's that time there. How long have we been going?
It's well over an hour.
Oh yeah,
I would say it's an hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah, because usually we have the roadcaster sitting over there with all the bells and whistles on it, and it tells us how long we've been going for. But so that's sitting in Darwin at the moment, ready to be picked up to go to the Kimberleys. Yeah.
Oh man, it's just I'm so excited. It's so pumped. We had you took off to Darwin the other day.
Yep.
Last Sunday, you took some gear with you.
Yep.
So that they could be driven to Derby.
Yeah.
Because in 2 weeks' time we're or not even 2 weeks, it's under 2 weeks, it's about 12 days. We're flying to Western Australia, man. I'm so excited.
It's wild, hey? It's going to be so crazy.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm so pumped for it.
And that less than 2 weeks away. But for me personally, like potentially even more exciting, my new boat is like in 4 days. Yeah, 3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
Super excited.
3 days. There's a very exciting thing happening here. And then
We're having a lamb on the spit.
Oh, we are so.
Because we have to kill something in order to.
Yeah.
Because it's a very Asian thing. It's actually Jack wouldn't even probably know about this so much, but
Lamb on the spit.
Well, the lamb on the spit,
Young boy
that's
would
what we're
tell
doing.
us.
But any time that somebody gets something new,
Okay.
you have to like do something as like a
big cook up or
An
something.
offering.
Well, you call it an offering. It's an old school way, maybe.
the
Like
but-
I remember when I went to Young Boy's house when he first had Kingston, his baby, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they around where he laid, they had like US currency and other weird stuff around there. It's like is that the same? Is that what-
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I got him a bottle of bloody.
Very, very expensive grog.
What is it? Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yeah,
Neither.
something because I couldn't
Hennessy.
even get.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it was
Was it?
Hennessy. It was
Yeah.
Hennessy. It was Hennessy, but it was like something bloody
Top shelf.
Yeah, but I couldn't even get it out in the Northern Territory. I got it from Brisbane,
Yeah.
and and it's like I don't know if you say it's an offering or whatever. It's just like maybe an appreciation for something
Yeah.
or like I don't know. Bloody,
So you bought a lamb.
So I bought a lamb, and I tell
Is
you
it-
what,
is it
mate,
still alive,
it's
or-
the most.
Did you buy from Mary?
Oh, God. No, it was. Mate, I tell you what, it is absolutely ridiculous because the price of lamb
Yeah.
in the Northern Territory is so ridiculous.
Oh, you're
So,
joking.
well, down south, okay. So I was talking to a guy down there the other day. He said whole lamb's $9 a kilo, right? So you buy a 20 kilo lamb, it's $180.
Yep.
You know, whatever. Fair enough. Yep, perfect. I got a lamb out of Dale and I rang up the supplier that I normally use when I get whole animals, like if I get a whole pig or a whole lamb or anything. You go through the same company. And rang them and they're like, oh, yep, no worries, yep, we've got a few here. I said, okay, well, I want one that's about 18, 20 kilos. He said, oh, give me 10 minutes, I'll ring you back. He rang me back. He said, the smallest one we've got's 22 kilos. I said, yep, done. Just whatever. I'll have someone come pick it up Thursday afternoon. Is it chilled or frozen? No, it's chilled. Okay, no worries, perfect. Okay, I'll have someone pick it up Thursday afternoon. Got the bill for it, $440.
$4.40, 22,
Yes.
$11 a kilo.
Yeah, oh, no, it's more.
Oh.
It's 22 kilo, I think, is what they put on the bill. But yeah, so
I'm not really quick at maths. I'm good at maths, but I'm not quick. I just threw a number out and it wasn't right.
Yeah,
So $22 a kilo.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So
Oh,
$20.
so we need to enjoy it.
$20 exactly a
What do you
kilo,
got in
mate.
your
So
big freezer there?
$11 per kilo in freight, basically, is what you're working out from Melbourne to Darwin. The person I was speaking to previously.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus, that's not great. But anyway, it is what it is. I've got it back here chilled. I've chucked it in the freezer because we're not sure
Yeah.
exactly what day we're going to do it.
Yep.
But you've got something happening and you've got some people coming.
I'll
and,
message on, mate, as soon as we finish this and say, yeah, we're going to feast on first night.
and we'll do something. And it's hopefully we can, in the background as the sun set, we can have the stuff in the background and do some photos and stuff and
Unreal.
do something and make it look good and whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. You were talking about your usual supplier of that. Another usual supplier. I don't know if it's the same person or not.
Definitely not.
You get your bait from and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, different.
I had we have briefly sort of played with an idea before about greyhounds.
Oh,
is that Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah. I reckon.
I didn't get land from Adam.
No, okay. If we can get a few more people on Patreon, I reckon we should commit every cent that has gone into it
To buying a dog.
to buy a dog, to buy a greyhound. I reckon.
Jack, what's a good name for a dog?
Tell us the dog name.
Oh.
Greyhound, not Stripey.
Stripey.
Lane 2, Stripey.
It could be Stripey.
It could be Stripey. Oh, because I always been on Stripey, so it could be Stripey.
Oh.
Yeah, I come up with it. I had a name, but we can't do it. But it was going to be
Ooh.
Bullfrog.
Well, Ireland is really big for greyhound racing and also really big for horse racing.
Yeah.
We're good at about 4 or 5 particular sports, usually rugby, cricket, greyhound racing and horse racing. And I've been to the races a few times and I won't drag the arse out of this. A name for a dog is still... I can't think of one right now, but there is a famous movie in Ireland called Man About Dog, and I'd like to take the name from that dog in that movie and name it that, whatever it is. But yeah, like I mean, my aunt, my dad's sister, my auntie, she married a guy who actually breeds greyhounds, and if you're thinking of getting one, it's tough work because they eat salmon.
What was his name? Salmon. That's the name of the dog.
Salmon.
The question was, what's the name for a dog?
These things jog on treadmills. They eat like better food than humans.
Yeah.
They take a lot of it. Salmon the dog, Salmon the radio.
Everyone's just switched off the podcast and put on their likes on now and then.
I missed the whole conversation.
We're gonna send this whole video. We are not cutting for the whole thing.
No, so I missed the conversation. Why are you guys speaking about where do greyhounds come up?
Yeah, no. There's a fella that Ash knows in Darwin that he's involved in the greyhound industry, and Ash does some business with him. With his crabbing, like he buys bait for him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's
not greyhounds.
Not greyhounds.
Not the slow runners.
Chop them up.
Here, fishy.
No, hangwings.
How come this chicken has no wings and
no
four
wonder
big
the
legs?
barra are so big here.
Yeah.
That's
anyway,
funny. That is funny.
How is it always me that throws stuff like that out in the deep end?
Here, fishy.
Yeah. Anyway,
A light bite for the barra in these waters.
yeah. No. Anyway, so this fella is involved in the industry, and I'm like, I was listening to Alpha Blokes today, and they had that Gibbo on from Two Flogs, and they were talking about punting and all sorts and horses and that, and they were talking about Yabby Pump, the horse that they And I'm like, well, it's a bit like we're a small podcast at the moment, hopefully on the way up. But I thought, oh, look, if horses are there, dog, like, it might be a bit cheaper. I'm like, all right, get on Patreon.
There's lots of money in there to be made, and there's lots of money floating in that industry. It's crazy.
Get on Patreon. He's saying the right words.
Let's actually name it Makara. Makara means my friend. Oscuelga in my native tongue in Irish, it's my friend Makara. Let's name the dog Makara.
Oh, that's perfect.
Makara. It almost sounds like MacArthur.
MacArthur. Oh, wow. Yeah, well, there you go.
All right. That's the name of the dog.
We've hit the nail on the head.
And our second dog's named Salmon. Anyway. I reckon we go full send on a dog at some point, maybe next year.
Okay, a couple of things before we shut it down.
Yeah. Well,
I gotta get to work.
You've got somewhere to be.
I had to be there an hour ago.
I usually have Starlink here, but I forgot it, and it's in Darwin. So lucky no one can message out. Where the hell's?
Let's have another rum, eh? Before we
go on.
No, we will. But I have a few questions. Only a couple, but one.
A few questions, only a couple. It's actually one.
Okay, you're one big question.
It might be two. I don't know.
1.5.
No. So if you had to give advice to somebody that's back in Ireland now, or they could be anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you had to give them advice about coming to somewhere like King Ash Bay to do their 88 days, their time for their second year visa in Australia, what advice would you give to somebody? Now that because you're at the end of it, like you're not just starting, you've finished it. Tomorrow. You know what's going on. So, what would you say to somebody that's just looking at they've just flown to Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane or wherever?
For sure. I think we've touched on. I think I expressed like what I wanted to say about King Ash Bay throughout this podcast, but I think definitely make an effort with the locals, because we touched on making your own fun earlier. And I think if you make effort and make your own fun, you're going to have a good time. And I think, yes, it is quite a secluded place. There isn't a million restaurants and bars to go to, but I think you get out of it what you give to it. So if you make a huge effort with the locals and you become friends with everybody, instead of being like, fuck, this isn't what I'm used to. Beep, what I'm used to. If you just really, really submerge yourself in the everyday lifestyle of everybody else, then I think you're going to meet common ground. And look, it is a different way of life. I mean, it's a small perimeter, you know what I mean? But I mentioned earlier, like we've lit fires, we've drank beers, I've gone fishing, I've driven 4-wheelers, and anybody coming here, as I said already as well, like it's an amazing place to like stop by, get a little bit more financially stable, and move on again, and like I've got an experience, like bush experience, that I wouldn't have had from the cities and places like that. And I would recommend it to honestly anybody. And that's not just me, like kind of trying to promote King Ash Bay. It's the God honest truth, in the sense that just like they look after you really well. The fact like that you don't have to pay any bills other than just your own food and drink, and with it being the cheapest bar in the Northern Territory, it's not going to break the bank to go on the piss once a week, you know. And the fact that like places like this still exist in every day, or like in 2024, is like I think the world like has gotten so advanced and so dangerous in a certain sense that like the fact that this is still available is it's a beauty in itself, you know, that kind of way.
I love what you said about sort of engaging yourself with the locals. And I feel, and it clicked for me, and I look back at every single lot of backpackers we've had come through, the ones that have engaged themselves with the locals are the ones that we've had the best times with.
Yeah,
starting with Jess and Jordan,
100%.
Jess and Jordan from Canada, Sarah from Canada, through to Maddie and Maeve, and probably the next, and then you guys this year.
Oh, Tess as well. Tess is right.
Yeah. Last year, from England. Yeah.
Everybody has been really good to us, and I think I touched on this earlier as well, but like the love or the help that's still out there for backpackers these days, even though I don't even own a backpack, but you know, the love, like the help and you know, for backpackers these days, you guys particularly have been really good to us, and you're busy. I'm busy as well, you know, with working 6 days a week.
You're busier than both of us.
But you know, you find, you know, everybody's busy, and you just find time to drink beers and like make our experience like that bit more fun or exciting. It's definitely a slower pace of life, like a stress-free pace of life, which is always welcomed. And I didn't realize that I needed it until, you know, I left a lot of cities and then came here, and it's opened my eyes to country a lot. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to really, really miss it. We've met a lot of good mates here, and going back to the age thing, it doesn't matter if you're 80 or 18.
Absolutely. Like Ash and I will pop around to someone's house here that's in their 70s and sit there and have a beer with them and chat with them, and like
but they still act like they're 18 as well.
Yeah, but it never feels like we're visiting Grandad.
No,
no.
It's true.
King Ash Bay is the great neutralizer. I'm going to keep coming back to that with whether it comes to wealth, age, anything. Yeah,
as we already spoke like about, there's you wouldn't even know about their wealth, you know. But it's just amazing that some people are very wealthy. But there's a lot of special people here that I'm certainly going to miss, and it is weird like giving final goodbyes, I think, at any point in life and any location. But it's gotten very real in the last 24 hours for me, because I'm actually leaving in a couple of hours. Well, at 5 a.m. It's now 6 p.m.
in 10 hours.
But in 10 hours, I got to go work my shift, and then I got to go home, clean out the rest of my room, pack the rest of my bags, and and then I'm going to leave. And it's sentimental. Like when we had that fire on the beach last night, as we already spoke about, half the community showed up, and that was all just to bid us farewell. And a lot of like mates. And especially, I think there's one or two that live in like Queensland, and they end up only being like 5 hours from driving from Sydney. They're going to come and visit us, and I don't think that's happened to any backpackers before. But we're gonna keep it going.
While you were talking about your travels, you're going to do the East Coast and that. In my head, I was thinking, now that if you're still listening at this stage,
God love you if you are.
Seriously, like if you live anywhere from anywhere on the East Coast, from where are you going to first? At the top end?
From Cairns, and then
all the way down.
Busing from Cairns to Airlie Beach.
and then fly to Brisbane.
So if you're in and
Anywhere along, if you've been listening, you know where you are. Send us a message and we'll get you in touch with him. And Matty,
would love that.
Matty and Matty.
Would love that. Always.
Jack and Hazel.
And we're not looking for freebies at all.
Give him freebies. Give him freebies. Nah.
It's
if you want to catch up with him, Jack and Hazel, they're awesome value. And if you want to catch up even at a pub or something like that, anyone that watches this, we can vouch for him.
Let's go for a beer.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
Hell yeah. But I reckon we send it straight to song nominations.
Send it.
Yeah. All right. So we've got a little segment here. We explained a bit of it earlier. Golf Mud Crabbers playlist on Spotify, and we nominate some songs every week. I do have a song which I thought about 5 minutes ago, which I'm a bit embarrassed about. Have you had a chance?
I thought long and hard, and as I already mentioned, I'm a bit of a music enthusiast, but I think it would be rude of me not to put some Irish traditional music into the playlist, even though there's already plenty because of the previous backpackers. But there is a song called Raglan Road.
Yeah.
Is it in there already?
Yeah, it's not.
Nah, do I know it?
It's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful pieces of music and I think I want it to be my own funeral song. I know that sounds very morbid, but oh my God, it nearly makes me want to cry, but sing and be happy at the same time. And I think
it's funny how many funeral songs are already in the playlist.
Yeah, well, like it's a real piece of music for me that just goes so deep and hits home. But yeah, Raglan Road by Luke Kelly is my nomination, and I've plenty of disco and reggae and techno and hip hop that I could mention, but no, for me, let's go with the old school.
I like the sound of that, mate.
Yeah,
me too. We've got a couple of Irish ones in there already because we're very much a fan of like Irish, like what would you say, like folk music, traditional Irish.
Yeah.
Like if I listen to Grace, I'll literally shed a tear every time I listen to it. When you know the full story behind it.
You're going to shit yourself and cry for Raglan Road.
We'll have a cuddle later on, mate, and we'll listen to it together, arm in arm. After that bottle's empty.
It's getting there already. Jesus.
Thanks, Big Pete, for the sponsor. Again,
Cheers, Pete. Where are you, Pete?
I messaged him last night. He's still in. He's back in Victoria still.
No, he sent me a message. Said, "Are we still friends?" On the other day,
are we still friends?
I missed one phone. Missed one phone call from him. Are we still friends?
Man. He carries on.
Yes,
Pete, man, get your act together.
What's your song, Russ? You got a song?
Week. Yeah, I do. Second week of November, he reckons. Which. Oh yeah, well he'll be here for the radio. Yeah,
hopefully, mate.
Mine, I have to look up just to double check I've got it right. Okay, I've done this before where I nominated a song before it was cool. And it was and the stupidest thing ever, it was one that was being smashed to me like paid advertising on TikTok. It was Teddy Swim's Lose Control. Before that was cool, I nominated it on here. And because I'm scrolling through TikTok and every third ad was that song. I'm like, wow, okay, this guy's pretty good. And the advertising got to me. It's happened again. This guy, he's an Aussie, a country Aussie artist. And if I'm ever scrolling on TikTok, every third thing is an ad from this fella, James Johnston, Raised Like That.
Yeah.
It is a very, very, very catchy song, especially when you've heard it 800 times as an ad.
Yeah.
His marketing department must spend a lot of money on advertising, but it has worked because now I love the song. And James Johnston, Raised Like That. It's pretty good. Ashley.
It is. No, that is a good song. Like, 100%. That's a really, really good song.
He's got some more coming.
Airdrop it to me or link me because
we're going to be doing an airdropping frenzy, mate. But you need to send me some MMA photos and what was the other one? I can't remember. Or if you're out fishing, when you were talking about catching your first fish,
anything up from here.
Anything we've spoken about, you need to airdrop.
I'll send you the brim and I'll send you the brim. MMA.
The 46 centimeter brim.
So brim and MMA. Oh, the 90. Could have been a meter, but I'm being down to earth.
Oh, crikey.
Good eating.
What do you got, Russ?
Well, seeing, I don't know if you know, but like Chris Christopherson just died yesterday.
I did see a headline. Yeah.
So I was gonna say, well, like, and I really love the Highwaymen.
Yep.
And yeah.
So the Highwaymen was Thingy, all the old legends, Thingy and Thingy.
Movie?
Well, Chris Christopherson, who just died,
Yeah.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson, who's the only one left that's alive.
Yeah, that's the one
and who was the fourth one? Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash. Is it Waylon Jennings?
Is he old enough to be in there?
Waylon Jennings? Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Surely. Oh no.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not wrong. Sorry if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're all dead except for Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson. Yeah. So, but I thought, I'll just like the Highwaymen. That's the song that the Highwaymen. I was a Highwayman.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. So I thought I'd just chuck that one in there because I really, really like that song, and the band's bloody unreal, and the group was
Airdrop
unreal.
that me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Airdrop that me.
Airdrop
Tout pour français.
We're going to get flagged. This
It's the
guy's
rum.
AI.
It's the rum. It's the rum.
He's glitching. Oh, man.
Well, it's been a pleasure being on the podcast, and I love having this conversation with you guys. It's literally just chilling, having a beer with your mates.
That's what we tell everyone when they want. Like, we've spoken to people wanting that we've wanted them to come on, and they haven't, and there's they get nervous, whatever. It's like we're just going to sit and drink a heap of piss and.
Do you know what? As well, it's a nice opportunity because the microphone is in front of you to like make some points that you truly
it's a long
believe.
Form. Yeah, it's not like
and
a 10-second snippet. Yeah,
just to put your like points in perspective of what you think and what you have thought for the last 3 months, that kind of way, and it's nice to put it all together, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, Jack, mate. It's been excellent, mate.
Appreciate it.
Really, really good. I've enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
I've enjoyed it a lot, mate. A lot. About
Don't get emotional.
17 years. Oh, the tears.
Let's have another rum.
Now the tears are coming. Right, Russ. Shut it down.
My manager's going to shit herself.
My manager's
going to show up to work drunk and late.
Man. I'm going to miss you. Hey, come here.
Thank you so much, Mikey.
Oh, man.
Holy shit, it's 6 o'clock. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
It's happy hour.
Happy.
Okay, I'm going to have a quick
We've
cigarette.
started half a bottle.
Yeah.
How late do you think I can show up today? Do you think I can just not show up at all?
Oh, look at that. Beauty!
Guys in the Gulf.